Perundingan Perjanjian Perdagangan Bebas antara Indonesia dengan Dewan Kerja Sama untuk Negara Arab di Teluk atau Indonesia-Gulf Cooperation Council Free Trade Agreement I-GCC FTA telah diluncurkan pada 31 Juli 2024 lalu. Menteri Perdagangan Indonesia Zulkifli Hasan bersama Sekretaris Jenderal GCC Jassim Mohammed Al-Budawi menandainya dengan penandatanganan naskah Joint Statement on the Launching of the Negotiation on the Free Trade Agreement. Perundingan itu terdiri dari 3 hal utama, yaitu perdagangan barang, perdagangan jasa, dan investasi, yang bertujuan untuk menghapuskan tarif dan menangani hambatan non-tarif, menjaga akses pasar dan memastikan kondisi yang kondusif bagi penyedia jasa untuk berkembang, serta melindungi dan mendorong investasi di Indonesia. Langkah penting itu dimulai untuk memperkuat hubungan dagang antara kedua belah pihak. Perundingan Perjanjian Perdagangan Bebas membuka peluang besar bagi Indonesia untuk memperluas pasar ekspornya ke kawasan Teluk yang merupakan mitra dagang strategis. Kesepakatan itu menjadi peluang besar untuk meningkatkan ekspor Indonesia ke Arab Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Persatuan Emirat Arab, dan Qatar. Total perdagangan antara Indonesia dan GCC pada periode Januari hingga Mei 2024 mencapai 6,2 miliar dolar AS. Dari jumlah tersebut, ekspor Indonesia ke GCC tercatat sebesar 2,7 miliar dolar AS. Sementara impor Indonesia dari GCC mencapai 3,5 miliar dolar AS. Dengan dibukanya akses pasar yang lebih luas dan penghapusan hambatan-hambatan perdagangan, Indonesia dapat meningkatkan nilai ekspornya, khususnya produk-produk unggulan seperti minyak kelapa sawit dan kendaraan bermotor. Di sisi lain, industri domestik Indonesia juga akan mendapat manfaat dari kemudahan impor bahan baku berkualitas tinggi dari GCC yang dapat meningkatkan efisiensi produksi di berbagai sektor. Perundingan Perjanjian Perdagangan Bebas antara Indonesia dengan GCC putaran pertama telah dilaksanakan di kantor Kementerian Perdagangan Indonesia di Jakarta pada 9 hingga 13 September lalu. Apa yang menjadi latar belakang perundingan dan topik-topik yang dibahas, serta hasil dari putaran pertama? Halo pemirsa, Anda menyaksikan International Corner. Saya Grazia Simanjuntak akan membahasnya dengan Deputi Gubernur Organisasi dan Perjanjian Internasional sekaligus Kepala Tim Perunding Saudi, Mr. Farid Alasaly. Mr. Alasaly, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Let's start with how the Saudi negotiating team was formed and its role in the Indonesia-GCC Free Trade Agreement negotiations. Can you tell us?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much for this interview in general terms. What I would just say that the Saudi negotiating team is actually within an ecosystem that encompasses about 46 different government agencies with above 120 members of it. That been looked at since 2019, and the team is actually, as I stated, composed of these different institutions from different aspects, starting from digital to goods, services, and the like, of course, depending on the topic that we'll be discussing within FTAs.
Right. What exactly is the purpose of the Indonesia-GCC Free Trade Agreement negotiations? What are the focuses?
This is a comprehensive agreement that actually covers all aspects of trade in general terms, including Islamic economy, goods, services, digital, as I said, digital trade, rules of origin, among others. Of course, we will be looking at intellectual property rights as well. So that will basically be a full coverage of the wide areas of trade.
Then why is the free trade agreement with Indonesia important for the 6 GCC countries, sir?
I think we need to look at the statistics in general terms. First of all, Indonesia composes of 280 million people, and that's basically a big market for GCC. At the same token, there is a reciprocal, let's say, trade Indo-Islamic side of of Hajj and Umrah as well. So that's very important to Indonesia. But when we look at the GDP of Indonesia, it's about $1.37 trillion in 2023, with a growth of 4.5% annually. That actually necessitates the need to look at this market from a GCC point of view.
Yeah.
And then again, of course, there is a diversified portfolio within the GCC, so it's important to Indonesia as well. The trade volume in general terms is modest between the two sides. I can give you some further statistics on that. Saudi Arabia, in general terms, ranks about 13 of its export to Indonesia in 2023, with about $4 billion, while the exports of Indonesia to Saudi Arabia is about half of that, of $2 billion. So I think there's a big room of improvement on the trade side.
Good. How can this agreement have a good economic impact on the Indonesia and the GCC?
I think looking at the different legislations and basically have investment facilitation on one side, you have trade facilitation on the other side, reducing all the technical barriers as we move on, because we have different aspects of these trade technical barriers. One-stop shop, for example, and investments in the kingdom and the GCC, similarly to be in Indonesia. So we will cut down on a lot of red tapes, as a matter of fact, that will actually enforce or push the private sector in general terms to have more open and transparent regimes in both sides.
Then what about the expected economic impact of this agreement on the kingdom's economy? What is the trade volume?
I can tell you, currently we are at a $2 billion number of exports to Indonesia. The kingdom is aiming at a $5 billion by 2030. And this is a huge jump. It's more than doubling the exports of Saudi Arabia to Indonesia. So that basically will have a positive contribution to the GDP of the kingdom.
Mr. Alasaly, thank you so much for your views. We will see you back in the second segment.
Thank you.
Demikian pemirsa, perbincangan saya dengan Mr. Farid Alasaly. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan International Corner. Sampai jumpa di segmen berikutnya. Halo pemirsa, Anda masih menyaksikan International Corner bersama Kepala Tim Perunding Saudi, Mr. Farid Alasaly. Mr. Alasaly, the Indonesian Minister of Trade said that the trade relations between Indonesia and the GCC have a very large potential value. Therefore, the agreement is expected to be completed within 24 months, 2 years. Now, what are the results of the first round of the Indonesia-GCC Free Trade Agreement negotiations? Yes, what are the results?
I can tell you very openly. It was better than my expectation. I think it was very positive atmosphere. The willingness of both sides is to move forward was basically present. We have concluded 2 different chapters, which in general terms, I can say it's called the trade remedy side, which is a very critical chapter. It was done today, and I was so happy to see this has been agreed, of course, in principle, because we need to look at the totality of it on one side. We have also concluded more than half of the digital trade, and which is a very technical area. And that was really done on the first day. This is more than what I have expected. We looked also at the services side. We still have a long way to go, because services sector is a wide area, as a matter of fact, from financial services to tourism to other sectors moving on. But I think there is an exchange of a lot of good views between both parties. And I can tell you more that if we really continue in this pace, we will do much better in the future maybe we will be very lucky to conclude within 24 months, as you alluded to, if we continue on that pace. Additionally, we were able to exchange, as a matter of fact, the ideas on the Islamic economy. I think economic is a very interesting area that Indonesia just proposed for the first time, and there are a lot of commonality as we really move on to the future. How can we integrate this into the trading system from both sides? So we will basically, we're trying to really have the next rounds, for example, if I may add to that, we're trying to have the next rounds within 2 to 3 months. This is a very, very ambitious goal that we have, including intersessional meetings online, so we can really speed up the pace, move into the future as fast as possible. Again, I'm confident. We always say that there will be some challenges. Absolutely, there will be some challenges, but we try to minimize those challenges in order to really conclude within that time frame that's been set by our leaders.
Speaking of challenges, what are the challenges faced with the many issues that are currently occurring, like trade barriers or tariffs barriers?
So far, it's the trade barriers because of the different systems of the parties of the agreement. So we need to look at how can we really work on those and make sure that we reduce or possibly eliminate those kind of trade barriers as moving on. If we take the financial sector, it's a very sensitive sector, for example. So we need to look at what are the regulations, the laws on both sides in order to make sure that we really smooth them out, number one. Number two, if there is any huge challenges, we have to really work on what is the best option or options, basically. Looking at the tariffs, I think the most challenging part is the rules of origin. The difference of the constitution of the goods, how does it originate, where will it go, does it gain the content of 30–40% and local content of it? How would it be? How would it gain the origin of the Indonesian side? How would it gain the origin within the GCC? So that's a little bit of a difficult part as we move on. So I'm hoping that we can really move faster on that.
What is the resolution strategy?
I think the strategy is being set clear in the terms of reference. We need to move expeditiously. We need to work on simultaneously on the different aspects of what we would need to do. And then we have to really check every now and then at the higher level of the chief negotiators level, where do we stand? So stock taking will be the most important issue that we have to do. And then anything that we really have to face, we need to raise it immediately rather than wait until the next round. So in between rounds, I think there will be the solution or the way forward.
When is the plan for the second round of the Indonesia-GCC Free Trade Agreement negotiations to be held? And what are the target results?
I think we will be basically at that time we'll be exchanging the requests of the goods requests, as a matter of fact, between the two parties, because it will form the basis for what will be the offers on both sides. So we're expecting that to be within the next about 6 weeks, hopefully. And then after that, we'll be looking at the timeline of when the next round will be. I think this is the most critical part that we all face, as usual, on the goods side.
Last question for today, sir. Looking at the first round result, how optimistic are you that the agreement can be completed within 24 months?
If we continue, both sides continue on this pace, I think we will be able to conclude it in 24 months. Of course, there will be some aspects after the 24 months. There will be legal reviews, but this is beyond signing the agreements. But I'm optimistic. If the positivity continues, I think we will be able to do so.
Mr. Alasaly, thank you so much for your views and for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much.
Demikian pemirsa, perbincangan saya dengan Deputi Gubernur Organisasi dan Perjanjian Internasional, sekaligus Kepala Tim Perunding Saudi, Bapak Farid Alasaly. Terima kasih telah menyaksikan International Corner. Sampai jumpa di episode berikutnya.
Thank you, great. Thank you very much. Take care. Thanks a lot.